let's watch Quissy's video, or at least start it. It's a recap of Phase 1 to Phase 6. From Quissy's point of view, overall thoughts on Classic WoW from launch to Phase 6. Let's play it.
It's been a long roller coaster of a journey. There have been highs and lows in this ride we call WoW Classic. In this video, I want to analyze what we've seen so far from phases 1 to 6 and conclusions I've made for myself that have affected my own style of gameplay as someone who has played Vanilla WoW, the WoW Classic demo and beta, WoW Classic itself for almost every single day since it's been released, and written nearly 60 guides on Wowhead's Classic site. I'm going to cover my overall thoughts on the game, including the streamer impact, why the WoW Classic beta felt so much more authentic, the Race to World First event, rating, and my different experiences with the servers I played on, including Fairlina, Grobulus, and Azure Song, and future plans with a hopeful TBC Classic release, and my content going forward. I also want to address quickly why I haven't uploaded content on this channel. In short, I just finished moving and it was incredibly stressful and time-consuming. I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my analysis of WoW Classic.
Alright, here we go.
Because of our current times, there have been many of today's modern issues that have impacted this recreation of a 16-year-old game. When you try to play WoW Classic as if it were a modern game in 2020, you'll run into a few conflicts. Let's first cover the impact of streamers. When character creation was imminent and players were preparing to choose what realm they would settle on, many people were opposed to being on a streamer server. Streamers did not exist in Vanilla WoW, and gaining notoriety was just from being a standout player or part of a groundbreaking guild. Many players wanted to go into WoW Classic with a clean slate, hoping to recreate or at least bring back a taste of what it was like to play Vanilla back in the day. I'm going to use Sodapoppin as an example here because he was a huge advocate for Blizzard to create legacy servers, way before Classic was even announced. Using his name and platform to share his desire was undoubtedly noticed by Blizzard. Take this forum post from way back in 2015 on MMO Champion, where user Arrowset posts about how Soda plays private servers, but cannot stream them because it's a bannable offense to do so. As a result, he plays off-stream, and I think that's the key factor right there. Soda loves playing WoW private servers. He had to play these off-stream because they violate TOS. Even if he were able to stream these servers though, I think his experience would be greatly hindered.
Soda turned on Classic? I mean, I don't know what he said about Classic. Like, just because he doesn't play it or stream it every day doesn't mean he hates it, right? I don't know. Like, does he hate it? Does he shit talk it? I have no idea.
Or in other words, he wouldn't have fun. He is even aware of this himself. Back in June of 2009, a few months before Classic launched, he tweeted out a message that he was thinking about not streaming the launch so that he could enjoy the experience. He knew that streaming would greatly impact his Classic experience overall. Not only for him, but for a server's health and community as well. Here you can see the twit longer. Hey guys, just wanted to say I'm thinking about taking a few months off to play Classic WoW on release. I want to stream, but unfortunately I don't think I can play the game I want to while streaming. I'm not 100% on not streaming it, however I do want to let people know that it is something I'm debating, so people aren't entirely surprised that I take such a long time off when it hits. The game means way too much to me, and I care more about this game than I do my stream at the moment, so I appreciate you all understanding that. Flash forward 3 months after WoW Classic launched, where Soda tweeted this out, and got lots of support from other streamers as well, even Asmongold. Playing this game as a big streamer is not fun. There's a reason I wanted to be a player and not a streamer in Classic WoW. I tried to stream it, but people expected me to entertain them over enjoying the game. I just gave up streaming and now I'm actually having fun.
There you go.
And then
a lot of
Asmon
streamers
replied,
stopped,
yeah, I made the opposite choice, and holy f***, is it not fun, lol. And you can't hate on Soda or Asmon or any other big streamer for ruining Classic servers by streaming it. It's the day and age we're in. Streaming is their profession, but it just doesn't mix well with Classic. But why is that? Among many points, here's what I've come up with. 1. Classic is immersive. Streaming rips you right out of that immersion. 2. Streaming ruins organic moments. Stream snipers, people trading items in gold, people doing stupid things to get their 5 seconds of fame on stream. 3. It creates imbalanced servers. Thousands of players roll on a single server and faction just to be able to interact with their favorite streamer.
What happened, actually Fairlina ended up being pretty balanced. What happened though was every single streamer, toxic, orbiter, spurg ended up on Fairlina. And it's like not this, it's like, how do I put this? It's like the streamer's fault, but not the streamer's fault. it's like, yeah, those people followed the streamers, but the streamers didn't do anything to like those people they're just orbit streamers. That's just the way it fucking goes, right? And so the streamers quit or stopped playing as much at least, and then Fairlina is just left as this like cesspit of like toxic fucking like orbiter weird cringe fucking Andes, right? I've played on a couple servers now on alts or whatever. I've transferred obviously now, dude. I have not played on a server worse than Fairlina as far as like community goes, and just like general overall behavior of the player base. Fairlina is pretty fucking ill behaved.
These players also drop off due to actual lack of real interest in the game. 4. It creates a false environment that did not exist in vanilla WoW or private servers. I think Chance really loved playing private servers because he was able to immerse himself in the game and not worry so much about all these other factors. If Asmin or Soda weren't streamers or could play anonymously, their classic experience would be a lot different. My solution for these guys, if we do indeed get a classic TBC, is to roll on PvE servers. I think there's a huge stigma playing on a PvE server. You get called a pussy or a Care Bear, a soy, etc. I think it's almost a pride thing in a way.
Yeah, I've been called
those things.
But
at this point, for people like Asmin and Soda, they shouldn't care anymore what people think or how they'd be perceived playing the game. Clearly playing on PvP servers hinders their experience. Constantly corpse camped, raids forming to kill and grief them. Now in some cases it doesn't matter if you're on PvP or PvE because people could still grief you even if you're not flagged for PvP, by killing NPCs and targets and all that, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other toxic ways to bother you. Someone left a comment on one of my YouTube videos a long time ago, and they said, PvP servers are for sweaty, min-maxing zoomers, and PvE servers are for boomers trying to hang out with friends.
Yeah, like that's pretty true. Yeah, like that's pretty fucking true.
For many reasons. I've now had the experience of playing Alliance on a high-population PvP server, as well as Horde on a low-population PvE server. And I must say, I really enjoy playing on the PvE server a lot more. I get to run around, explore, and quest out in the open world without the fear of getting ganked. I have uninterrupted gameplay. I could AFK on the side of the road without worrying about being dead when I get back, and there's less people around, so questing is a lot more immersive. I found myself leveling in zones and completing quests I couldn't possibly imagine doing on a PvP server. It was actually a pleasure to level in Stranglethorn Vale. This immersive experience is what I look for in WoW Classic. I can't be bothered with random PvP squabbles, corpse camping, and people just being petty. But for some people though, they do like that aspect of the game. I think that's a big reason why many people haven't had an enjoyable experience in WoW Classic, is because they play on a PvP server, when in reality, they might have a way better time on PvE. I'm not afraid to admit I like PvE servers better than PvP. At the end of the day, I ask myself,
there were definitely a lot of highlights on Fairlina.
Can I go out in the open world and enjoy the game? Or do I have to constantly be looking over my shoulder? Now before you ask, don't you stream? Aren't you a streamer?
One of the craziest things about people that are like, and I've had like people doing like the PvP server ego thing ever since I transferred to Peggle. It's like, oh, like you're a pussy, you went to a PvE server. It's like, dude, most people, and I can tell you this after having spent a year and a half playing at a pretty high level on a PvP server, most people that play on PvP servers, it's not like they're hardcore world PvPers world PvPing all fucking day. In fact, the way that being on a PvP server impacts them the most is when they're getting their world buffs, they have to raid log like a fucking rat and get summoned around to avoid world PvP. The only world PvP they get is trying to avoid it to keep their fucking world buffs. Like, that's it. So it's not as if you're fucking a super active world PvP Andy. You're just avoiding as much as possible to keep your fucking world buff. So it's like a weird thing, dude.
Well, yes, I do, but not even close to the scale that these guys do. I rarely have to worry about stream sniping or being traded gold or funneled gear. The most I see are people helping me out with a new alt, or maybe trading me some bags, helping with a quest. Sometimes it's pretty easy to find a group if a lot of people in my chat are on the same server, too. I don't think I, personally, have that much of an impact on the population of a server, economy, there's no raid groups forming to grief me, etc. With my 100-something viewer stream versus 50,000 viewers. And also on the PvE server that I play on, I don't use the name Quissy. So let's now talk about why beta was different. It seemed like many of these streamers who say they don't particularly enjoy playing WoW Classic had fun during the beta. In fact, everyone seemed to be having the time of their life during the WoW Classic beta. Why was this? I've thought about this for a while, and I've come to one conclusion. It was because we were capped at level 30, and then eventually level 40, and this was something unknown. You see, at level 60, everything is figured.
You know what's crazy, dude? the beta, like, I actually remember all of these beta player names, like all of these beta players, I remember them more vividly than random people in Frelina. Like, just the server community, it's true, and we'll see what she says. The beta server was like, it was better. Like, it was. It actually
figured
was.
out best in slot gear, what talents to use, where to farm gold, best professions, best consumables, best everything. Every single point and detail and stat and piece of gear has been documented for anyone to find. But at levels 30 and 40, it was a little bit of uncharted territory. Players were capped at these levels, something that was mostly unheard of. Sure, people twink out characters at 29, 39, 49, etc, etc, but having to play the beta, capped at level 40, provided some really exciting new endeavors. I remember people challenging themselves. Asmongold clearing Wings of Scarlet Monastery with an entire level 30 group. I got a group of 5 together and we managed to get the ZF Mallet and kill Gazrilla at level 40. We kited the last boss in Uldaman and killed him. These are all new and exciting challenges that don't really exist in WoW Classic. Everything at level 60 is already figured out, but in the beta, players kept finding new ways to challenge themselves. Does that make sense? It's the mystery and the unknown that keeps things exciting. And not just in WoW Classic, but I think in life too. Now let's talk about the Race to World First event. Another point I want to bring up was how crappy the launch of WoW Classic was, particularly in the streamer and content creator community, in my opinion. And a big part of that was the whole Race to World First race that went on. According to the press release on Method's website, participants in the classic Race to World First will seek to be the first players to level their personal characters to level 60, then attempt to lead their guilds from around the world to be the first group of 40 players to kill the legendary end bosses, Ragnaros and Onyxia. Now, first and foremost, I'm not necessarily blaming Method for causing a crappy WoW Classic launch. Players were planning to get World First 60 and World First Ragnaros Ani kills long before Method decided to make an event out of it.
Where are we going with this?
On a positive note, I think it brought even more publicity to the game, and it really helped hype it up.
I think Method's Race to World First Classic WoW event it had no impact. I think the only impact that it had was reflect negatively on them. I think it was kind of embarrassing for them, but it ultimately did nothing. It had no impact on anything other than it kind of embarrassed themselves. That's my take on the Race to World First event.
I love seeing all the press and excitement for WoW Classic. I saw huge posters of Ragnaros with the WoW Classic logo in the New York City subway, and I can't tell you how happy that made me. We even saw huge names looking to play, big streamers like Shroud, Tim the Tapman, just to name a couple off the top of my head. This brought incredible exposure to the game. But on the other hand, I think it promoted some unhealthy habits among the player base. It inspired players even more so to push themselves and get to 60 as quickly as possible.
Okay, no. The Methods event had no impact on people pushing themselves. Like, these sweaty classic gamers were gonna do that shit anyway. Like, do you think people from Apes or Progress or Salad Bakers, like, do you think they gave a fuck that Method was casting this shit? No. No way. Like, I understand how you might think that if you hadn't played on private servers or played on private servers extensively, but this kind of sweaty gameplay was going on for years on private servers before Classic was announced, before Method was doing their Race to World First. It had no impact. It had no impact at all. That's my take.
It also felt a bit off to me that no one in Method, at least in their previous group, before shit hit the fan, were actually trying to get to World First 60. I remember there were a few guys at the event competing in the race, and maybe a couple of them were actually in Method, I don't know. But shortly after, a lot of those players just went back to retail. To me, honestly, it seemed like they were just trying to capitalize on the event, and didn't care so much for WoW Classic itself. And that really left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, probably
and again, this was before
yeah.
the whole implosion of Method. I started out in Staysafe's guild, Power. That from the beginning, even before launch, a big objective was to get server first Ragnaros kill, which they did end up doing, and was really cool to watch. And this objective was laid out on the table months before Classic was launched, maybe even more than a year. Players who joined the guild should have known what they were getting themselves into. They knew what they signed up for. Players prepared their leveling routes for months, from the moment they would enter the world at level 1 all the way to level 60. Practicing their exact moves, timing their runs, trying to be the absolute most efficient. And as a note, I don't think there's anything wrong with this at all. The problem arose when people's mental and physical health began to deteriorate during this launch period. Once Method announced their Race to World First event, I remember lots of people, and not just in my guild, reacted to it in a way kind of like, Well, now I have to go even harder to beat Method. So not only did it become a race to 60 and raid clearing, but for many, it became a race to also beat Method. But for those players wanting to rush to 60 and beat Method, it was done in a very unhealthy way, and also in ways that didn't feel right to me. Seeing
What? Well, the thing is, Method had multiple people in the guild, a bunch of idiots, that was on our server. Okay? So on our server, it was Power versus a bunch of idiots. And they actually ended up killing Ragnaros about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours after us. So, like, if Method had a guild in Classic WoW, it was a bunch of idiots. Because Tips Out was, like, an officer of the guild, NMP was an officer, they were both Method at the time, there were some other Method players in the guild. So it was sort of like that. There was kind of that mentality a little bit.
Seeing these 10-man raids of spell cleave groups dungeon grinding, it felt wrong. It didn't feel right, seeing the game abused like that. What happened to all those content creators out there saying, real WoW is back? Classic is a game that's not meant to be rushed in that regard.
Nano, good morning, dude.
What about the world? Seeing those old zones destroyed in Cataclysm that are no longer in retail? What about questing? What about bringing back those classic MMORPG elements that we so longed for? What about class identity? Having each level mean something? What about leveling professions? What about having fun? Long story short, Classic launch left a sour taste in many people's mouths. I for one jumped on the race to World First bandwagon, and after 3 or 4 days of playing 20 plus hours a day, with about 4 hours of sleep in between, I really lost a hold of my mental sanity. I stopped at around level 41 or 42, and couldn't have been happier. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I wasn't having fun. What was the point? I don't blame Power for any of this, because as I mentioned earlier, they laid the cards out on the table. People knew what they were signing up for way in advance, to play in a more hardcore, min-maxy way. Unfortunately, I quickly realized that I couldn't keep up physically or mentally with that. On September 1st, barely a week into the launch of Classic, I tweeted this out, and have stood by my words firmly ever since. Stop rushing to 60 in WoW Classic if it's draining you mentally and physically. It's not worth it. Enjoy the world we're back in. Soak in the pre-cataclysmic zones. Listen to the amazing music. Get into those epic quest chains. Make friends along the way.
Hey, here's the thing. You gotta do whatever you have fun doing, right? If you have fun going a bit more slowly and having some more immersion, you should do that, right? If you have fun doing Classic West speedruns or, you know, trying to speed level or whatever, you should do that. Different fun, different ways, right? And not one way is better than the other. Whatever you want to do, you should do that. And that's it. Like, once you figure it out, you should do that, right? It's as simple as that.
I started playing Vanilla WoW when I was a teenager, and I instantly fell in love with it from the moment I zoned into Northshire Abbey first time and read my first quest objective. The music, the ambiance, the interaction with other players, the adventure, getting lost in that huge, immersive, unknown new world. To me, WoW Classic is a slow marathon, not a sprint, and that is perhaps why I haven't gotten sick of it. You can't rush through it. It's those organic moments that make it so special. I've since rolled alts on other servers, and started fresh on a random, low to mid-size PvE Horde server. And we took our time leveling. We learned professions that we wanted to learn, we grouped up with others, we helped others, and we made friends. And those experiences to me have been the most rewarding. I did most of my leveling off stream too, so that I could fully immerse myself in.
Isn't this guy really young though? I feel like his experience is a little different if this is his first time playing WoW. This is not a young boy. This is Quissy, who is a 20-something-year-old woman who has been playing WoW since 2004. This is Quissy. She's a streamer. She's very nice.
In the game. That was the Classic experience I was so desperately looking for. The Classic experience that I love. And I don't worry anymore about having to stream particular content. I take pride in providing a relaxing, chill gameplay experience. Hell, people have even commented that I remind them of a female Mad season, and I take that as a huge compliment.
Yeah, that's actually kind of true.
Let's move on to raiding now.
Yeah,
the big thing about raiding is that many people found that raiding just wasn't tough. Heck, I think the hardest part of raiding is actually getting 40 people organized. It's like herding a bunch of cats sometimes. Naxxramas was certainly a breath of fresh air. Expensive, but an expensive breath of fresh air. For the first time ever, we saw guilds struggle. I'm talking top tier, hardcore, world first guilds. In the first few weeks, certain fights were absolutely dependent on having world buffs. And sure, in a way, world buffs trivialized a lot of the Phase 1 to 5 raid content, and put many people in world buff prison, meaning they loaded up on their buffs, then couldn't play their own character until raid time. I'm sure the fact that we're more knowledgeable with gear, stats, consumables, better ISPs and computers, and perhaps better skills.
This guy, hey, hold up,
Consumables,
pause.
better ISPs and computers, and perhaps better skilled.
Hold up,
Gear.
hold up. The
fact that we're more knowledgeable.
This priest, egg, by the way. Hey, listen. I remember it was during Alterac Valley Premades in Phase 2. He was a Shadow Priest. This guy was a Shadow Priest. And I remember we wiped on Drekthar because he refused to heal. He would not heal. We got Drekthar to like fucking 5% and people are dying. He refuses to heal. And then I whisper him after we lose. We lose because we all wipe. And I'm like, hey, dude, if you had healed someone, then we would have killed the boss. And he told me to fuck myself and called me a gamer word. I'm not going to say which one. He told me to fuck myself, called me a gamer word, and he said, I will never heal. Ah. How the tables have turned, egg. It appears as if you are healing in Next Ramus. Interesting.
With gear, stats, consumables, better ISPs and computers, and perhaps better skilled, are surely all factors too, compared to how things were in vanilla WoW. I personally think my favorite content in WoW Classic were phases 1 through 4, perhaps because they were the most nostalgic for me in terms of gameplay. Back in vanilla, my guild struggled through Molten Core, Blackwing Lair. I have no idea how we even managed to clear BWL back in the day, but I never made it to AQ40. Phase 4, for me, felt like the best time in WoW Classic with the release of Zul'Gurub. It just had so many things to do. Guilds were still clearing Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, Onyxia, and now Zul'Gurub was added to the mix. There were so many opportunities to get gear, and ZG provided a chill way to get some catch-up gear, or even pimp out your alts. I don't dislike AQ20 or AQ40, well, minus the trash in those instances.
I do.
But I just didn't have the nostalgic connection to those raids as I did with the previous ones. That being said, I raided Naxxramas a lot in Wrath of the Lich King and loved it. I even have a video going over how I got the Immortal title back in the day on my YouTube channel. It's basically an achievement where you have to clear 25-man Nax without a single player dying during any boss encounter. I put the link in the description below if you want to see it. My experience in Classic so far with Naxxramas, I could say I love being in there. The first 2 weeks, I spent over 10 hours each time, working with my guild to clear it. But I had fun, and seeing Tier 3, being able to collect it myself, is really awesome. Damn. So let's now dive into my personal experiences with the community in WoW Classic, and the servers I played on. A big thing about community in WoW Classic is that there are consequences to your actions. If you act like a douchebag, people will remember, and people will let other people know as well. But if you run into awesome people who make your gameplay
it looks good. Cope. Yeah, also, listen, the same people that think that Paladin Tier 3 looks good think that Trump can actually win the election still. Cope. Wait, what'd you say, Tomcat? I leveled to 60 on Ferlina, prioritizing red quest first. What? Insane. You're a bunch of casuals with your easy mode speed leveling. He's hardcore. Tom is hardcore.
A lot of fun. You meet somebody in a dungeon or randomly out in the open world questing,
Damn.
Add them to your friends list, and then right there, that connection's been sealed. One of my favorite communities in WoW Classic has been the Hardcore community. WoW Classic Hardcore is a community gaming mode, developed to give an extra level of challenge to players. One life. If you die, you have to delete your character. There's a bunch of other rules too, but so many people at this point have hit level 60 without dying, and then others are creating new challenges for themselves within the Hardcore mode. So it's just been so incredibly fun to watch and be a part of this community. Every single person that I've met in that community has been super awesome.
Dude, this looks
friendly,
super fun.
Welcoming. It's so inclusive. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what faction you are. Everybody's welcome. That to me has been a huge highlight of WoW Classic, the WoW Classic Hardcore community. So let's talk about Ferlina, the streamer server. Full of streamers, people who hate streamers, fanboys, sweaty private server tryhards, people looking for their 10 seconds.
That's actually true. Most people that play on Ferlina fucking hate streamers, and they rolled on Ferlina in order to kill streamers. Like, imagine having that much hatred in your heart. Imagine that, dude. Imagine having that fucking void in your heart.
Of fame, and more. That, combined with it being a PvP server, turned it into a huge cluster of madness, insanity, and dare I say, a little bit of personality too. I think I did a pretty good job at avoiding the drama as much as I could. So as I mentioned, I started out in the guild Power, I was in Crusade for like a week, and then my friend from the beta, Eric, reached out to me. and asked if I was interested in joining his guild 7, saying that I would have a raid spot and everything.
Eric whispering people to poach them into his guild, promising them raid spots and loot. Does that sound familiar? Where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, to 10 people from my guild. Interesting. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that shit.
And I think joining 7 was the best decision I ever made. Right away I was able to join in on the Onyxia kills, and shortly after we started clearing Molten Core. I remember my first piece of Molten Core raid loot was the Lawbringer shoulders, and I was super excited because getting a tier shoulder piece is always really cool. I also got my Judgment helm pretty quickly too, and that was a huge highlight for me as well, just getting your tier 2 really early on. With 7, I've cleared every single raid boss possible, minus the outside world bosses, like the Emerald Dragons and Lord Kazakh and things like that, but every raid boss inside an instance I was able to experience and clear. That's way past anything I ever did in Vanilla WoW, where the furthest I got was killing Nefarian. So being able to experience AQ40 was a huge highlight for me. Even though it's not my favorite place, it was something to check off the list of classic achievements. I also think that 7 is run really well. The officers do a great job organizing the raids, they use Loot Council to distribute loot. I also think the core of 7 is really tight and works really well together. And I gotta give props to Eric, and a huge thank you. I don't even think he intended to run a guild, but he did an amazing job. And has 100% inspired the way that I run my Horde guild. And thank you for allowing my paladin to experience all of this amazing classic content. It really does mean the world to me. So let's talk about Grobulus. When I started to realize that I didn't necessarily like the server Fairlina, despite really liking my Guild 7 and the people in it, I tried rolling an alt on Grobulus,
seems like a good server.
Which is an RP PvP server. I noticed right off the bat that the community, at least while I was leveling, seemed to be a lot friendlier. And with that added element of RP, it definitely made things interesting. I rolled characters on there with Pasta, Tuna Tornado, Jive, Maria, Lagertha, Denethal, so many amazing people. And we had a lot of fun for a while. When it got to raiding, I just wasn't interested in raiding on my druid. The raid group wasn't necessarily the most organized, especially because I was used to being in a guild like 7, so I kinda lost interest in playing my druid on Grobulus. But I did have an amazing time leveling on there. And I'm sure Grobulus has its fair share of drama, I just haven't been involved in any of that, so happy about that. Let's talk about Azure Song now. I
too can look back on Classic WoW, and I can say I avoided all drama. I didn't have any drama at all, and that's one of the things I'm most thankful for, is I was able to stay clear, no drama. We're good.
Randomly chose the server Azure Song. I was looking at one of those server stat pages, and I purposely wanted to choose something that was super low population and PvE, which was the complete opposite of what I've been used to. I've been playing on Fairlina and Grobulus, both very high population PvP servers. So with Azure Song, my goal was to do something completely opposite. I also wanted to play Horde too and experience that whole aspect of the game. So again, Azure Song was completely random. It's a West Coast server, I'm on the East Coast. I didn't know anybody on there. I wanted to start somewhere fresh, where I was unknown, and just build things from the ground up. Back to the basics, if you will. I used a different name, so I wasn't recognizable. Not that I'm super famous or anything, but just in case somebody recognized my name from Wowhead or something like that. And Azure Song ended up being the closest to the most authentic classic experience out there. And like I said, we started from the ground up. We had about maybe 10 to 15 people roll on the server, we had a guild made. I remember we were crafting each other's 6-slot linen bags, and just working our way up from there. I named the guild Chill because I just wanted to exemplify that core value of let's just go there and chill and have fun. And as the guild has grown over time, I still try my best to keep that core mentality in mind. Play the game, help each other out, have fun, enjoy the leveling process, no pressure. And like I said, it's really been the most meaningful and authentic classic experience that I could have asked for.
Damn.
So let's talk about the future. It's never too late. TBC Classic is on the horizon, or is at least rumored to be on the horizon. We haven't officially gotten confirmed plans rumors as of me creating this video, but I'd say 99% of people are
leveling is fun. Dude, if you have a group of 10 or 15 people, and you're all, like, not going sweaty, getting fucking boosted mode, like, you're just playing and doing group quests together and doing dungeons, like, yeah, dude, that's fun. Classic leveling is fun as fuck if you're in a leveling guild with friends that you know and you're doing stuff together. It actually is probably the most fun thing in the game.
Expecting TBC Classic to be released. There's rumors of a beta coming out next month, and if so, I'm gonna be going hard on the beta. For actual TBC launch, I kinda wanna make a new level 1 Blood Elf and start fresh from there. I'll eventually level my Alliance Paladin to level 70, but again, the whole idea with Azure Song and like going back to the basics, I wanna take my time leveling, and I really do love the Blood Elf starting zone. So I'd love to experience that again at the launch of TBC Classic. I do want to make a paladin, so hopefully I can pump out a lot more paladin-oriented content on this channel, as I've done in the past. Having a blood elf paladin and a human paladin is going to be really fun. That, and also, I'm kind of concerned with the congestion that's going to be in Hellfire Peninsula once the expansion launches. There's going to be a huge bottleneck of people going through the Dark Portal, right? They're going to have to shard the shit out of it. So we'll see how they decide to tackle that.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, that being said, the Blood Elf starting zone is probably going to be packed too, but we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to hearing the announcement and...
So, I was actually thinking about this. I actually came up with a solution to Classic TBC launch that no one has thought about. So, you and your guild, you're going to be in a bus that has a hot air balloon on top, and every guild is going to be flying over Outland in a different direction, and you get to choose, you and your guild get to drop into Outland wherever you want. So the buses are going to go all over, and you can say, all right, boys, where are we dropping? All right, let's drop at fucking, 1,000 Needles or whatever, or what's it called? Storm, Nether Storm. We'll drop a Nether Storm. You drop there, and then you just get going, right? Where are we dropping? And you're good. Tilted Towers, we can drop in Tilted Towers if you want.
Testing it out in the beta.
That way,
hopefully.
It's perfect.
So thank you for tuning in and listening to me share my thoughts. I've met so many amazing members of the WoW.
What is the name of that zone? Dude, what is the name of the zone? I'm blanking on it. Spiky Spikes. What is the name of the zone? Blades Edge Mountains. Thank you, dude. Thank you. Yes.
Community through my classic adventures.
Yes.
And your support means the world to me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Big shout out to the Patreons of this channel. I know I haven't been super active on Patreon. I've been super busy moving, but I hope to get more active in 2021. So
I mean, this is like a really good personal journey. This is the story less of classic WoW and more of personal self-discovery. And the self-discovery is she thought she wanted to play the game and interact with the game in a certain way, and after trying that way, she realized she actually wanted to play the game a different way. And she acknowledged, like, there might be some haters, or there might be people that are shit-talking her for doing this, or going to PvE server, or re-rolling factions, or doing this or doing that. And she said, you know what? Fuck the haters. I'm going to do what I want to do. This is what makes me happy. I thought I wanted that. I don't want it. I want to do this. And then she did it, and it's the best experience of her life. So we can all take a lesson from that.